It is pretty hot down there, huh?
Yeah, we have come around the corner though. Like we can at least the last couple of days we could reliably get up early, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and it would be low 70s.
Oh yeah,
Well, mid 70s. I guess that would be considered low 70s.
you work in your garden and then run into the house.
Right, with a flashlight, because as soon as the sun comes out, who knows how hot it's going to become.
Right. Well, it's a good thing you'll have your tinfoil hat on.
Yeah.
So, are you in the trailer?
I am.
Oh, okay. So, what all will you have to bring to Tequila's to keep
Well,
up the tradition?
yeah, okay, so I have a laptop that somebody donated me for parts last time I was here.
Oh, I see.
And so it's a sixth generation Intel. To give you an idea of its how old it is. We're releasing computers with the 12th generation now. So there's nothing new or modern about this, except it was a real decent computer at the time. It has a touch screen that's on it. I've replaced the spinning hard drive with an SSD drive. And there's one of the important things that I'm realizing in the difference between my laptops here is it's got plenty of cooling space. So it's got a good cooler on it, and it can sustain a process for a long period of time before throttling its speed to cool itself down. Yeah, it's been a real interesting engagement between this technology versus this technology, because the laptop that's my main driver is an Ultrabook, and that Ultrabook has a 7th generation i7 processor. Hey, Jim.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
You know, when you shop for computers, they make a big deal about the clock speed, and I don't think anybody could appreciate the great improvements in clock speed because nobody runs big computations.
Well, yeah, the clock speed just doesn't matter. We reached that extreme probably 15 years ago,
Yeah.
where the clock speed is really, it's pretty consistent, and the idea has been since then to be able to maneuver that back and forth in this throttling that I'm describing, doing it for power management and for thermal management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And storage I/O is important.
Yes.
But I don't know if we appreciate that either.
Well, we do. We still do. That's one of the reasons that the M1 is such an impressive chip, is because the secondary storage is almost tied directly in to the processor. And so you get a much faster I/O to that secondary storage, which they argue that's the reason these M1s and M2s. I haven't had a lot of experience with an M2 now, but the M1s are able to take on heavy processing tasks, heavier than traditional processors, even though they only have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Like maybe they would take on a project that would be traditionally left for a 32 gigabyte computer. The M1 allows it to do this task with a 16 gigabyte computer at a faster performance using less power, because it's all put together, this secondary storage, and it's faster I/O speeds, and the way it balances that with RAM. Good morning, everybody. We haven't started yet. This is just the before times. This is the before computer club. Good morning, Chester. Good morning, Linda. Paul and I were just talking about the equipment that I'll be dragging to Tequila's. I'm obviously not there at the moment, so that we can continue to have this remote meeting. And so I was describing the difference between the laptop that I'm going to use as a main driver at the club. Morning, Bill. That this laptop is a i5 6th generation with 12 gigabytes of RAM, and my main driver for years has been this Ultrabook, which is a 7th generation. So it's 6th generation versus 7th generation, and it's i5 versus i7. Morning, Judy. Good to see you. You're not late. We've just been talking about equipment that I'm going to use for the in-person meeting that I'm obviously not doing yet. And we've still got a few more minutes on the clock. And I was just making the distinction between the computer that I'm going to use as my main computer, which is actually a 6th generation Intel, versus my main computer, my main driver for years has been the 7th generation. And this other computer is actually a i5 versus the i7 that I have over here that I've used. And what I've gotten to really understand is the performance difference of being able to sustain a process. And what that process being maintaining this meeting and encoding it for YouTube. And because my supposedly more capable processor computer is an Ultrabook, it has a smaller thermal print, smaller. Wow, Paul, I'm going to mute your microphone because that's what right now is for, is testing this stuff, and for some reason your speakers are bleeding back over into this. The more capable processor, even though it's a more capable processor, it's in a thinner thermal space, and so it's actually having to slow itself down over sustained processes because of the temperature that it raises. And this older laptop with an older processor actually has a larger screen and a larger body, and it allows you to sustain a process like this meeting, recording it and encoding it, without having to throttle down to a slower clock speed. So it's actually a better experience when trying to pull all these things together. And so yeah, what I've got this one doing over here now, its whole job is just to talk to YouTube. So this computer in front of me is now my main driver. I can bring up the web pages that we're talking about, talk to you in a meeting, and I'm broadcasting and recording it at the same time, but I'm only broadcasting it to this computer. And then this computer behind me is in charge of taking that broadcast and moving it up to YouTube in real time. And I'm able to do all of this with the new Mac M1. So I don't need two computers, but for our meeting in the at our in-person meeting, this is the only portable technologies I have. I get the added benefit of getting a bigger screen in front of me, which I like having a portable computer, but that screen, I immediately replace it with a bigger screen whenever I'm sitting at my desk. The 13-inch screen with 52-year-old eyes, it's just, I don't like it.
Don't talk to me about 52-year-old eyes.
Yeah, it doesn't cut it.
Really.
Yeah, I know it doesn't get any better, but I feel
Scott,
like an ogre like this working on this computer right in front of me, trying to see, zooming in, and anyway.
wait another 30-some years.
Thank you. Yeah.
Then you'll carry around a magnifying glass. No
That's right.
So Scott, I have my electrician is here, so I'm gonna hop off for a little bit, but I'll be back.
Okay, very good. We are on a countdown. We got less than 2 minutes before I'm going to hit the go button. And so far, I hate to jinx it, but everything looks like it's working.
I show you're 2 minutes past 10 on my iPad.
Oh, so we should have started. You're absolutely
Yes,
right. Let me do that. I'll start and you'll be back.
Okay.
Good morning. I think we're just about to hit the stream. I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, and we are the San Carlos Computer Club. We meet every Tuesday at 10 to discuss tech topics and our lives. We all have some kind of tie to San Carlos, not that that's a requirement to be part of our meeting. And I hope that we are always encouraging new people to join us, because I find us fascinating, and I think other people would as well. I hope everybody's good. Has anybody brought any of their own topics? Has anybody had an opportunity to look at the document I sent out yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I hope it was yesterday. Put this link in our in-call messages so that if you're looking for any of the topics and things that I've put on there, they're there now. And I'm still haven't done podcasts, but let me just say this is the first meeting of our new season. I'm looking at the document right now. And I'd forgotten to mention that I have, for the last 2 years or 3 years, made a point of ending, I guess, my episode numbering. Because I used to go to Alaska so frequently and we would cut off these meetings, I would refer to them as seasons. I'm back for the Computer Club season from Alaska. And since we started doing COVID and just doing meetings all year round, I've been breaking them off at 52, so that means a meeting a week. And this is the first meeting of the first season, or of the new season of 2022-23 meetings of the San Carlos Computer Club. You made it. Everybody's still here.
Yes, we are.
Congratulations. I also keep track of how many virtual meetings we've had. This is the 134th virtual meeting we've had. It really marks all the way back to when we decided to not go in person to Tequila's to have an in-person meeting because of COVID. I just a little side note on COVID. I have put a link at the bottom of our documents. I'll put it on the screen here. That will take you to the COVID-19 State of Sonora portal. And I've noticed that because we haven't been paying attention recently, because I guess COVID's over, they are doing weekly COVID reports for Sonora. And I looked through the last, I'm obviously getting up to date with this stuff because I want to go back to in-person meetings. I feel like we're at that point. And so the most recent information is interesting. 213 cases, 5 deaths from the 4th to the 10th, 6 hospitalizations, and out of all the municipalities, am I looking at the right report? This is not the report I was looking at yesterday, is it? Because I was going to say there were none reported from Guaymas, but I just saw a Guaymas number in it. Anyway, I am looking at the right one, aren't I? Let me take a look at this portal again. The 4th through the 10th, though I'm not looking at the right one. I'm looking at the one from the beginning of September. Because I was just looking at the one from last week, and it's up to date as of last week. And Guaymas is not on the list. Nothing's been reported. Anyway, you guys can check it out. I'll maintain that at the bottom of the protocols on the document that I send out in case you're curious. If you're thinking about coming to an in-person meeting, you can look at what the previous weeks were looking like in our area, and you can make that risk assessment for yourself. I have to tell you, though, over the weekend I went to a friend's birthday party at this new club in the bowling alley, which is no longer a bowling alley. And those people don't believe COVID exists anymore. I'm not talking about the staff. They seemed Well, this staff as well. There's a couple in masks, but the entire crowd was elbow to elbow, and absolutely not a mask to be found as far as what Wymus is concerned with those people.
So Scott,
It's over.
Can you repeat what you said about tequilas?
Which part? Wait, what what information are you looking for? I'll answer any questions.
Are we meeting at tequilas next week?
I'm planning to.
Okay.
I haven't gotten over to test anything. And how do you guys feel about us maintaining the 10 o'clock time instead of going back to the 9 o'clock time? Is that better, or do we need to go back to the 9 o'clock time?
I'd rather go back.
You'd rather go back?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
and
Judy, I'd rather be 10. I'm sorry.
Okay. How about 9:30?
We were doing it at 9:15. That'd be an extra.
I know.
Yeah. I know that in my life, the 10 works really well because absolutely everything else is out of the way. I've pushed everything out of the way. Kids are at school, wife's at work. The any projects I have been on the back burner from the night before, so 10 makes it very easy for me. But
10 it is then.
Oh,
that's
thank you,
sweet.
Judy. That'll give me extra.
That's two against one, so I can't very well push my weight around and say no.
Oh, but you're so valuable. We'll all listen to you.
We'll wait till more people are down and see what they vote.
That's right. There'll be a coup.
There'll be. Speaking of a coup, let's not. But anyway.
Oh. Well, anyway, each week I send out a document proposing topics. At the end of it, I've had a list of protocols for in-person meetings. I'm going to try and come in next meeting I want to do at 10 o'clock in Tequila's. And I've put a link at the bottom that has weekly reports on the COVID situation locally. So like I said, you can make your own risk analysis. I
did wear a mask into Santa Rosa just because I think it's tight in there. I did not wear a mask when I went into Santa Valle because there's hardly ever anybody in there. And the restaurants seem to be pretty open. I've been to several, so.
Yeah, I've wore a mask for everywhere since I left the club because I was dancing with hundreds of people that were maskless. And
that's a good point.
It's amazing how, like, you're so sensitive now. I'm like, I smell this guy's breath. Oh my God.
Ew.
I think, oh, geez, I am way too close to these people.
You were dancing with a guy?
I was dancing with like 20 people, right?
All at once?
Yeah, we were in a club. We were in the new club. The bowling alley, Chester, is now a nightclub. This was the first time I'd been in there. We were there for a friend's birthday.
When you decide to go in person next week, I would certainly suggest that you post it on Viva so the outside world will know.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'll send out an announcement. And Chester, we post on Facebook as well, but somebody could just send a link over. Is it called Viva anymore? I think it's called. Okay. Well, Chester, why don't you post on Viva?
Well, I'm not going to be there, so.
Well, I'm planning a soft meeting where I would prefer a few members versus like 30 members. So I'm very happy in keeping it slow until I feel confident that what we got is going to work. And one of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to have a screen that I could put the online people on. I'm hoping I can run a cable up to that TV that was hanging on but I don't even know if it's there anymore. This is why I got to go in. I got to go in this next week and see what's available. Because I'd like to have a screen I could put the online people, like this meet as we're looking at it now. I'd like to be able to put that on the screen so that, and have a speaker so that when somebody like Cheryl wants to say something in the live meeting, the whole group can hear it without needing their own technology. Go ahead, Cheryl.
So I'm looking at that link that you shared, and I went to the most recent, I guess, the September something to the 28th.
Yes.
I don't understand what I'm looking at. Number of cases, is this all of Sonora?
All of Sonora.
Okay.
Alexa,
And
hang up.
I don't understand. 3.7 people per 100 mil? I'm not understanding what I'm looking at.
I don't know. The important things, what I thought, this is my risk assessment. I looked at how many people were infected. I looked at where they were infected, and whether they were in the hospital or whether they died. To me, those are the numbers that I'm really curious about. And
Okay, active case.
Yeah. Oh, this report has some vaccine information in it as well. I didn't look at any of that. The
Is that Boo adding his 2 cents worth?
Oops, you noticed.
I think I hear Boo.
Actually,
You know,
it is.
Paul,
I got.
are you in tequilas? No.
I
Okay.
don't think this is the same report I looked at yesterday.
Cases of fatalities, defunctionaires. I don't know what that means.
That means dead. But that's, yeah. 6 in hospital, 10 dead, 216 cases. Somewhere in here I also read something about the percentage being reported.
Oh, okay.
Like there's been a drop in reportings.
Huh.
Here's, okay, if you're looking at my screen, this is where it said the people that were hospitalized. 4 in Hermosillo, 1 in Cajeme, and 1 in Nogales. And below that is a municipality where they reported cases. But this is the one that says 11 on Wymus. Where is the date for this one?
And the other one.
This is the one. Okay, so this is the report that ends on the 12th, I think. This one is the one that ends. Yeah, no, I've mixed up. This looks wrong. This one right here. It's got the right numbers on it, but it looks wrong. I don't know, Cheryl, you're going to have to do your own analysis of it.
Yeah. Well, and translate.
Yeah, I do know that when I looked at it, yeah, here it is, right here. Here's the cases and active cases. And Wymus is not on the list. And this is as of September 26th, according to this.
Yeah.
So this is as of last week, the end of last week's cycle.
The 111. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Empalme
111
1.
in Hermosillo, Empalme 1. Wymus isn't on the list. So Wymus doesn't have any reported active cases right now.
Well, in our province, we have respiratory ailment outbreaks in many schools. Nobody's testing positive for COVID with the rapid COVID tests that we've been using, but there's a lot of sick people.
Yeah, actually around here, my daughter was sick for a number of days with a head cold and lots of mucus. I tested her for COVID, and I mean we thought it was COVID, and it tested negative in the kit. And I have third, fourth hand information that it's going around in the school that kids are getting sick with something. But it must just be the seasonal flu, I guess.
Or it's a COVID that doesn't show up on the tests that they're using.
Yeah,
That's my theory.
there you go. Well, she was not very sick, but she was sick enough not to go to school. And I didn't get anything from it. No, nobody in the house got anything from it. Interesting, but we are a computer tech, not just COVID updates. I wanted to point out the website where you can get more COVID information. And obviously, in my experience, because I was looking at it just recently, I wasn't looking at the same report as we were talking just now, and the reports are different. They're in a different, each one appears to be organized a little differently, include addendums and stuff that's been pulled out. So you're just going to have to dig through it and find the information that matters to you. I did find, finally, the information that made me feel comfortable was the page that shows the municipalities with active cases right now. Paul's back with us after his cruise trip, and he told me he has actually finished 32 movies.
I don't know.
And I think he looks like he's lost some weight because he hasn't had any time to go to the snack bar because he's been watching movies the whole time.
Well, the treat that I had this time was I had the beverage package, so I could have wine with my meals and any highballs I wanted. So before each meal, each dinner, I'd have a pina colada, and then sometimes at night I'd have a rusty nail, which is my favorite nighttime drink, and then we had all the movies, and we had internet too. We had the internet package. So I watched 32 movies and a couple TV shows, the Orville shows.
So you had internet. You actually, I mean, internet that was sustainable, that gave you the ability to watch movies.
No, the movies are a package on the ship.
Oh, okay.
They're stored on the ship.
Ah, okay. All right. I understand. Yeah, of course they are. Because that would just make much more sense.
Yeah. And I don't know how many there would be. I would say there must have been 100 movies or something like that. Some of them I had seen before. But anyway,
I
can give you highlights of some of them, but we'll wait till for recommendations.
For recommendations, I'm curious about. You said you got the internet package as well. How did it work out for you? It
was fine. I could get internet on my phone.
So you could get emails. Were you able to do phone calls and stuff like that?
Messaging. And then when we got into port, we could do cell phone calls. So anyway, there is something to report about the weather. We were supposed to go to Baja, and then La Paz, and then Loreto, and then Puerto Vallarta.
Right.
And they said, oh, there's a storm converging on Puerto Vallarta. So we just lazied our way home and stopped in San Diego yesterday. So we missed one Mexican port.
Did you catch any of that storm? It looked pretty intense. I was following it I was following it on My Radar. Is that what that's called? That app that somebody had recommended?
Oh, yeah.
Dave recommended it. Yeah, My Radar.
This was a perfectly calm cruise. We never saw, once in a while there'd be white caps, but the ship didn't react to them or anything like that. They have stabilizers and they work perfectly well.
Well,
So it was very pleasurable.
that's awesome.
I didn't hear anybody complain about seasickness. I saw some people with a scopolamine patch up behind their ears, but I don't know if they really needed it.
Well, I'm glad you weren't in the middle of that storm. It would be. I'm curious how a cruise ship would go, but
Well, on the very first cruise we went was to Hawaii. We had 20-foot seas.
Wow.
That was exciting. I like rough weather if it's rough but not too scary. But on that cruise, when you're walking down the corridor, you know, there's corridors on either side of the ship, stem to stern. And the floor would fall away from you as you were walking and then rise up to meet you. And that was pretty exciting.
No, that doesn't sound exciting. Well, I don't know if anybody else has brought topics for today's meeting. Does anybody have a question or something they want to they want to troubleshoot while we're all together? Paul, I'm going to mute you again because I'm coming across your speakers again. Unless you have another topic there, Paul. I've put a couple of links here that I thought people would find interesting.
I do.
Oh, Judy, please go ahead.
Question about iOS 16. You'd put on there, had anybody tried it yet? Has anybody tried it yet?
Some follow-up.
I have not. I have not. It gives me the option, but I have not.
I don't have the option. I have a 6S phone and I don't have the option. And I have a brand new iPad series, I don't know what, and I don't have the option.
That's odd because that iPad should have the option.
I don't know. I don't see the option on my iPad, but it's not new either.
Yeah, I would imagine Cheryl's definitely. In fact, I think we looked it up last meeting to verify that it should have it. There is a document that goes through all the things to do if you don't have it, and one of those was just to use iTunes and install it. Just install the image from a cable connecting a USB FireWire connection or Lightning connection, and doing that kind of install to the device. Which is not bad advice because you can get a full backup of the device at the same time on your computer that can be used to recover the device if something goes wrong. So I typically like to do installs like that, but it is odd that it's not offered on the device, that you'd have to go through all that. But nobody else has started using iOS 16 yet? I think they're up, is it 16.03 now? I think they put out another point release after we talked about it last week.
So on my iPad, it says 15.7 iOS is up to date.
And then
that's on my iPad.
Do you have a scroll? Can you scroll down on that page? Mine's almost...
can, but it is not there on my iPad.
Okay.
That's where it is on my iPhone, but not on my iPad.
Not on the iPad, yeah. So you know what? Yeah, you know what you're looking for.
Right.
16. Let's see.
Just to let you all know that I had a cricket invasion just in the last few days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad that.
Is it? Wait, is this at Loma Del Mar?
At my house, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the season.
So Crescencio came and sprayed outside yesterday, and I had like 10 dead ones outside. That's good.
What? I'm sorry. I'm listening to the cricket story, and I'm just trying to figure out what version of iOS is the most recent.
Of 16, I don't know, but of 15, it's 15.7.
Yeah, I'm still on 15.7 with my phone because
That's
the
what
thing
I'm
that,
on too.
yeah, the thing that I heard was that there are people reporting battery issues with the new 16 where it was using more battery than they were accustomed to.
You know, every time they roll out a new one, that's what people say.
Yeah. And there is this period of time that you do use more battery right after you install it. In fact, this one article I was reading was saying specifically this. Right after you install it, then there's all this indexing and I/O that has to happen. This refreshing of data and changing of databases. And so all that activity takes more electricity and ends up draining the battery quicker. But then after that process is finished and you're like 24 to 48 hours later, you should be expecting it to work with the same battery performance that you were expecting, relatively speaking, relative to any actual problems where it's using more battery. That was the controversial thing that Apple was doing, was slowing down your device on newer releases because they said they wanted to maintain your battery, and so your battery gets older, has less charge. Now, these two topics aren't related. I was just thinking about it at the same time. No. Yeah, there's no link between those two topics now that I've gotten that out of my mouth. Anyway, we're beyond that now. You can choose the performance of your battery, and maybe it'll drain very quickly, or maybe you'll do things slower so that it doesn't drain the battery as quickly. And I never did find the latest release. I think it's 0.2, 0.02, or 0.03. 0.04? No, 0.03 is what I would think it is. Ah, here we go. So as of yesterday, they're saying 0.03 is about to be released. So not quite yet. But that's 3 bug fixes since the 12th. And just to me, a perfect example of why you wait for the point releases if you don't want headaches. If you're exploratory, you're curious, if you've got an older device that doesn't matter to you, then by all means. But if you've got one main device that you rely on and it's working perfectly fine, there's no reason to wait until it's had a couple of releases out there so they've worked out the kinks, in my opinion. Is there any other follow-up or questions or problems, things that aren't working for people out there? Ring doorbells, security cameras, nothing you guys are fighting with right now we can give some advice on?
I had a question, but I don't remember what it was. It had to do with me coming down here, so it was a question, but now I may have fixed it already because Chava's on his way over to hook up my direct TV box, so we'll see if that works. And I will have him, I know what it was. So is there any reason why I need to still have both providers for my internet? My thought is that because Juan's system works off of Telmex, that if Telmex goes down, so does Juan.
Well, I think that's not bad logic, except that your infrastructure where you're located is a different arm of infrastructure than where Juan is located. And it's my experience coming back is a perfect example. I have Telmex here at the house, and I also use Juan because the Telmex I have is not very fast.
But you don't have fiber optics, and I do.
Well, that's right, but it's representative of a different branch of technology. You're still on.
So that was my question.
Yeah.
Is there any purpose to have fiber optics with Telmex and continue with Juan.
So if the question was for capacity, if you're asking, can I go as fast? Is it going to give me the same experience? Then they're virtually identical. As long as for no problems in the infrastructure, your experience on the internet through fiber optics versus what Juan is offering should be negligible to you and you as an individual, outside of any special purposes. Now, that being said, my example was one where, because of the storms, Telmex was out for me because of the rains. But fortunately, my family barely felt it because Juan was up the majority of the time. And so Yuya has been using Juan's connection for the last month and a half without any internet being provided by Telmex. And relatively, we had one experience where Juan went out and Yuya immediately called me, and I'm looking at the system. She's showing it to me through her camera. She's shown me the lights on my equipment, and it turns out that Telmex is out, and this was one of those few occasions that Juan was out, and so they had no internet at all. I have a customer in the country club very similar to me, my situation. There isn't a reliable internet. Like I think fiber optics is pretty reliable as long as there isn't a power outage, as long as there isn't some devastation from weather, then you would expect to have very reliable internet. Mine's a bad DSL and the other is a wireless with Juan. And so when I say reliability, I'm thinking just in the general operations of it, not outside of a storm problem. And the general operations every day, it's kind of a little iffy doing a wireless connection as well as these DSLs in my area with Telmex. And so I've bundled those two connections I've mentioned before with a load balancing router, and I use that one connection, and it tends to cover itself often enough that I don't feel any problem. And consequently, my customer in the country club, I've set him up the same way. He's the only other place I can reference that I've set up in this manner, and I've had much less interactions with him since we went from a weekly call to a monthly call, and so I think that's a success story. I think I would take full advantage of the bandwidth that you have if you didn't mind the extra price, and you would have the advantage of if one went out, you've always got the other one. But
do I?
You do, and that's the point I'm making. Is there's so many places in that chain of technology to have a problem that could go wrong up to the point where you're at the same level as Juan being out. I mean, it's very conceivable that you could have internet and Juan couldn't, and vice versa.
Okay.
And so it's really whether you want to pay for that kind of coverage. In my case, I definitely want to, because every day the act of getting internet, it's a little iffy.
So right now, fiber optics is giving me 50.
That's awesome. I
am really disappointed because in Colorado I had 400 on my fiber optics.
Oh, well.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We are in Mexico.
50's good.
50's good.
Yeah, I'm in Mexico.
Yeah.
Down here.
You can contract 200.
I don't want to.
Yeah, it's $100 a month.
For me, there's no big difference.
That's right.
I'm not a gamer, so it's no.
Well, even being a gamer, you'd have to be like me. You'd have to have 4 people in 4 different rooms, all watching 4K video off of Netflix.
Right.
That's what would justify that kind of, right? Or they're running your business out of your house, and you've got whatever your business is video editing or producing or whatever it might be. I'm pleased that I've come back to find that Juan's upload for me has more than doubled. When I first signed up with him, I had ridiculous upload speeds, and I thought, this is awesome. This is going to be great for the computer club virtual meetings. And then the next year it dialed down to almost nothing, and had lots of internet fighting with internet on my end to get a video out. And I've come back, and now it's about 3 times what I left it. So I'm really happy with that. Well, do you guys want to get into some of the topics I brought? I'm happy to talk about anything, but I did bring these topics. I don't know if anybody's read any of this stuff. This first one is a pretty heavy article. It's quite an essay on the right to repair movement. It gets into our current recycling or lack of, and it goes into how we could really make changes in how products are put together and distributed so that we can eliminate some of this e-waste problem that apparently is completely growing. It's got statistics in here like 53 megatons of e-waste regularly. And so they make a real case for why we should be concerned about right to repair. And it goes into the thinking behind what's happened with the big 3 right now, with Apple, Google, Samsung, how they've made recent commitments to being able to repair their products, and how in the right to repair movement, though it's steps in the right direction, they're very shallow steps, and how they're really being used more for the idea of pardon me, the idea of offsetting the lobbying and regulations that will take place with kind of handing these things to the users, kind of trying to tamp down the concern about right to repair. Right at this moment where we've got a good movement going on to enshrine some of these concepts in the way that we design products as we go forward into the future. And this right to repair is one that's going to help us in this aspect. What they talk about in here is how it is difficult for a organization to switch their model from their growth model from constantly selling a new product to one where you're reviving a product like a service, like it's with your customer and you're providing it with those items of repair. It's kind of like steering a cruise ship, and you've got this large successful entity like an Apple or a Google or a Samsung, and to move their whole revenue stream from we've got to constantly be creating more for people to purchase, to one where we need to create an environment where people's devices are not out of date in a couple of years, but they have upgrade opportunities, and they're feeding this machine of upgrade opportunities. They're recapturing the older devices and making newer devices available. An example of this would be, say you're perfectly happy with your phone, with the exception of you'd like to take better pictures, and the phone has been designed so that the camera module could be swapped out for a relatively inexpensive fee, and what you'd pay for is the module and some swap fee, and you would go forward with this same device. This is a paradigm that it's ripe for new startups, and we've seen that. And they actually mention the one we've talked about before, that framework laptop, that framework PC. They talk about that in this article, and they compare it to also one that's a phone that's being developed very much in the same way. I don't know if you remember Framework. This is the one where they've designed everything so that you can very easily, within moments, you can change a keyboard, you can replace a motherboard. All the ports in it are modular, so on the fly you can pull out modules and stick in modules. And the Framework is a very impressive laptop because it follows those sleek lines of an Ultrabook, but then provides all this customization. I don't know if on this picture you can see the module lines around each one of these ports in the side of this relatively thin laptop. Let's see if they got some more pictures here. It looks like a real computer, but then there's a picture right there of this modular port idea, right, where everything is. The back end, I think, are all high-speed USB-C ports, and then each module, in fact, that's what we're seeing here. That is the back end that plugs into the motherboard, is high-speed USB. But then the other end, and this is what they look like when they're closed up, they're just modules on there. The other end is an HDMI port, or it's an Ethernet port, or it's an audio port. It's whatever you need it to be, and they sell multiple modules like that, making it easy to expand. This is showing us the memory that's easy to get to add more memory. But the Framework actually gets down into the display and the motherboard, the speakers. All of them are relatively easy to get at because they've been built to be replaced and to be modified over time. I was really hoping that the motherboard picture would pop out here, but I'm not seeing it. And I didn't know that I would be showing it to you. I'm just happy that I can present to you with so little. Oh, that's what it is. I'm not even on the Framework website. I'm looking at the Framework. Here we go. But the idea of this laptop is that next year, when the new processor comes out and you want to improve the performance of your Photoshop, there's where the motherboard is right there. Then you could make that extra expense choice. You can say, I want to spend the, well, in this case it's $349 to get the latest version of this motherboard because you're expecting better performance out of it, and you can change it yourself. It shows here with the cover off and how it's just a module that you can pull out and have into your hand. You don't have to. You notice everything else is still in that computer. There isn't a bunch of parts surrounding the computer that had to be removed for them to get at this motherboard. They took off the keyboard, they pulled out the motherboard. And that's really the point of this laptop. And as well, the phone that's mentioned in this article is another startup, and a Fairphone. That's what it's called. I'm not familiar with Fairphone, and I've done no research on Fairphone. But it definitely sounds to me that it's the same kind of thing, where what they're doing is they're sustaining the phone. And they're making it easy for you to repair and replace parts in it. And this area of the market is much more open because nobody's doing it. The big three are really, they're doing their own thing in the way they've been doing it. And the way they've been doing it is like they ooze out technology and it needs to be recaptured some way. You have no play in it. When you're done with that technology, you look for a recycling program, or you just toss it in the bin and you buy their latest products that they're oozing out. I don't know if you've noticed, though, the iPhone 14, Apple has just they've just shrunk their production. They had a higher capacity production projected for the sales of the iPhone 14. And I read something the other day, don't quote me on this, but it's like they've cut it in half. And so they've they had expected this large growth, and what they're seeing is they're having nominal growth. And these tech companies have been taught for the last 20 years to expect growth. Growth is what shows success. It is winning. It's sustainability. It's where the value is in these companies. This is show growth. And what's happening recently is they're stagnant. So it's not like they're not bringing in the same billions of dollars of profit that they normally bring in. It's just they're not showing more of that profit this year. They're not able to sell more of their product. They're selling the same amount they were selling last quarter. There was no growth. It's just at the same number. This is where, if you get into this article, if you're paying attention to what I've been talking about, and I mention a lot in our club, we get to affect the way that items our technology gets developed. Not only how it's used, but how it's developed, how we prefer it to be. The European Union has done a great job of this. I've mentioned that before. In terms of privacy, we get to take advantage of the side effects of them insisting on privacy in a very specific, rote way. You're able to collect your data from any of the services that you're in. For example, like a Facebook or a Twitter, you can see exactly what they've collected on you. You can ask for it. You can ask them to delete it. You can expect it to be deleted. You can delete your entire account. These are all things that have come out of European regulation, and they're good things. They direct technology in the way we think it should be directed. Europe has also regulated USB chargers. That's the reason every new device that you buy can be plugged in with a USB charger. It's an amazing convenience that didn't exist because there was a market for selling and building these power bricks that were completely different for every product you own. That was a market, and even though you may not have really thought about it like that, what you did think about was this amazing inconvenience that things weren't standardized. Not only did it affect the price of the products you bought, but it affected the frustrations that you would feel as a consumer. So the European Union regulates that, and now you can use a USB charger to plug in just about any new device. Hopefully we'll see that applied shortly to computers as well. We've already seen them adopting the USB-C. So I'm in favor of intelligent technical regulations that won't occur in the free market, where we have to say as consumers the way we expect things to be built, the way we expect the life cycle of these products to behave. And this article goes into where we are at and who's trying to make the differences, and some of the things that we should be seeing in the future, and some of the things that are going on right now. I don't know if anybody, I'm sorry, I've talked that to death. If anybody has anything to contribute, please chime in. Well, if you haven't heard of Fairphone and you don't remember us talking about framework, I've been, this whole going back in person, I've been looking at, geez, what can I afford a new laptop? And I found myself just drawn back to framework. I'm looking at framework. I'm looking at the way it's put together in their pricing model, and thinking this is really the way to do it. Look at this. They've got an 11th generation base unit that starts at $899. What's in the box? Power adapter, expansion cards, the screwdriver. They sell you the screwdriver to do the repairs with. Break a screen, touchscreen stops. Oh, well, I'm sorry. That's one thing you do give up with this generation of framework, is they don't have a touchscreen. And they're out of stock because they're an awesome product. Anyway. other things on my nobody's got other topics they would like to bring up. I'll go down my list. I stuck 3 on here. I stuck a touchy-feely one about Bruce Willis. Did you guys see that news about Bruce Willis selling his likeness to a deep fake company? It's not true. That's what the majority of the news is refuting. That article, that he supposedly sold his digital likeness. It was an easy story. It was picked up and viral across the internet that he had come to an arrangement with a deep fakes company where they would use his digital likeness. You would infer that it was in perpetuity. And then immediately after that went viral, Bruce Willis's PR people came out and said, no, that's absolutely not true. But what he has done is he's come to an agreement with a deep fake company, this one that was producing like beer commercials, I think, in Russia. And if I was reading between the lines, I would almost think that they did this without his approval, and they've paid him some money to approve. But it does bring up this topic once again, this idea that actors... Oh, and that was the other thing that I wanted to tie into this, is if you're a Star Wars fan like me, you're aware that James Earl Jones, this is true news, has recently, just in the same time all this was going on, elected to sell his IP to Lucasfilms. I'm clicking on the wrong button here. There we go. So his voice now in all Star Wars properties will be a digital representation that has been recorded and licensed from his family. And so he will no longer be doing the acting of the voice of Darth Vader. It will be a digital AI that has learned his voice and will speak it in the parts that they need the Darth Vader voice in. This is very legitimate news that was happening at the exact same time as this Bruce Willis thing, lending to the credibility of this article about him making this deal with this deepfakes company. There we go. Star Wars. James steps back from Darth Vader. Oh, look at that. Wonder if everybody gave up on me. There we go. Hello? Well, I obviously find myself so entertaining.
I'm back.
Hey, Pop.
Hi.
Hi, Mom.
She's nearby.
Yeah, I see she just connected as well. You guys are the first ones.
Hi.
Good job.
For me, yes.
I have a question for you. I'm not sure others may be interested.
Sure.
After your experience, I went right out and bought some air tags.
Yeah.
But I haven't even opened them. I don't know. How do you use air tags? What do you do?
I bet everybody would be interested in that.
Okay.
Let me bring that up as soon as I'm done on this. Look, Jim, look how interesting I find myself. I completely forgot the meeting was going to end. I even saw the notice and I said, I'm going to have to remind people the meeting is going to end, and I didn't. Well, all I was getting at, and I'll put this article in here too, is that this is the thing that's happening now. This is real life. A few years ago, we had a movie that was making fun of it or pointing it out, however you look at it. But these actors are now being able to license their images and license their voices for for perpetual use in new products. In this case, however, Bruce Willis did not.
Well, it sounds like a good way to make a dime or two.
Well, especially if you're retiring.
Aging.
Yeah, and especially, I think Star Wars is a great example. Like Darth Vader is a character more than a role, and the best way to keep it genuine is to be able to continue to use his voice for it. Such an iconic voice.
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis, we're very ready to believe that this is if not this company, then somewhere very quickly he's going to be making this deal because of his health issues. This is the best way to guarantee that his lineage continues to receive more royalties from his work.
What is his health issues?
Aphasia, I think that's what he's suffering from. It's the real reason that we've seen him in such bad movies for the last couple of years, is he's just done a mountain of work trying to build kind of a war chest of personal wealth, because he's been diagnosed for a while now. I wonder if anybody else is going to join us. Maybe everybody was sick of my talking.
I doubt that, son.
Well, if it's only a small group, then I have a dumb question.
Oh, good. Let me write that in the lineup.
Because I've completely forgotten about this. We have someone who is sending us emails, to Linda, and they're immediately going into her junk file, and I have forgotten how to get this person on an approved list.
Which email are you using?
I'm sorry?
What email do you use? Is it Gmail?
Yeah, Gmail. I had something to think.
Okay. And are you using it through the web browser or using the mail client on your computer?
Linda, that's a good question. She's got an iMac Air, and I think it must be through the client, not the browser. Let me see your computer. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, forget it.
It's okay, Linda. We can solve your problems later. You guys are retired. You're in no hurry.
This is true. We're sitting in a motel room waiting for the RV to be repaired.
Oh, no. That's not the story to tell. What's happening there?
Oh, the bolts on the exhaust manifold, one of them sheared off, and it started a massive leak. So anyway, need a new head gasket, new bolts. Apparently, somewhere between 3 and 10 of them have to be drilled out.
Oh, no.
Jim, I just
Major
came in on
misses.
this. Where are you?
Alamosa. We're en route. We just don't know when we'll get down there.
He thinks he's in Alamosa. He's been suffering an exhaust leak, and he's a little fuzzy.
Yeah. I thought you were in a hotel room, and I wondered where Maxine was, but I
She's
was
in the
in the
shop.
wrong meeting code.
Yeah. She is definitely in the shop.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I'm sorry, guys. I should have reminded you that we have a new meet code, and I completely was so involved with my topic that I forgot to announce the meeting was ending.
Yeah, and it just all of a sudden went blank, and then I was trying to find, and I'd already deleted the one message, but I found it in the document. So.
Good. I'm glad we shared that.
Glad you put it in the document, yes.
Yeah.
It should be everywhere. It should be on the document, should be on the email, should be on the website. So wherever you guys are getting connected, you should find it in all those places. And Jim, to answer your question with the email in generalities, I expect there to be a function in my Gmail in my junk mail folder that allows me to reverse that. So if like Gmail, for instance, has automatically put it into the junk mail folder. Paul, I'm sorry, I gotta mute you again. Your speakers when I talk are just bleeding over. And thank you.
Oh, I have a small fan going too.
Well, I'm hearing my words distorted from your speakers. Every time I say a word, I'm hearing myself come back at me. And I've lost my train of thought, derailed. Where's the station?
In the junk file.
In the junk file, thank you.
There's a way to reverse that.
When I'm in an email client or I'm in the web version, I look for something on that email when I highlight it. There is something that allows me to say this is not junk, this is not spam. And so that's what I look for to begin with, whether it's in the web browser using the Gmail client, or it's in the app on my phone, or the Macintosh client, mail client. I look for a function in that junk mail when I'm looking at that email that'll typically be like a bar, or it'll be an icon that allows you to swap its status. It doesn't use the word status. That was my word. It'll say not junk. It'll say things like that. It'll say not junk, mark not junk.
What you want?
Yeah, I'm.
I should pull something up.
To see if I can't find the.
I'm going into my spam under junk mail right now. And here, let me show you my window. I'm in the Computer Club email. I'm in my spam folder, and I'm just picking a spam email. And right here in this gray box, it says report not spam. And if I were to click that, I won't, because this is definitely spam. But when I click that, it goes back to Google's junk mail filter systems. And it's supposed to flag the next one that comes like this as going into the inbox instead of into the spam folder. So this is how Gmail does it. Now, give me a moment. I'm going to switch back to our Meet view to give some semblance of privacy here. And I want to bring up the mail client that I have in my Windows computer and go into that spam folder. Oh wait, maybe I'm not even doing this the way. Junk. Okay, yeah, here we go. Now I'm in the Microsoft Mail client of my Hotmail account, which, anyway, the Hotmail account, and I'm in the junk mail messages, and you can see here in the client at the top, there's an action that says this message was identified as junk. Not junk, it's a button that I can hit. And it's the same kind of thing. It will send back a message saying this should not be flagged as junk. Jim, can you see that on my screen? I don't know.
Yeah, I can. I'm trying to figure out how. I'm on my phone trying to find the comparable one.
Oh.
But I think that will solve the problem for Linda's computer.
Okay, yeah, it's going to be, and I think regardless of whether that's the actual solution, that's the idea. You're looking for that idea. Now, if that idea doesn't exist, if this hasn't happened automatically, but it's happened manually, then you've got a list of blocked emails. That there's like a rule out there that when this particular email comes in, stick it in the junk mail folder.
Right.
And so you'll have to actually look for that in filters in Gmail. And I'm not sure in the client we were just looking at, and I'm not sure on the Macintosh either. But there's a place. It's rules or filters that you're looking for. That's the concept.
Rules and filters. Okay.
Yeah, rules and filters. In some languages it's rules, in other languages it's filters.
Got it. I will work on that and and report back.
You know what? I'm going to take a moment and jump over into this other old meet and see if that's where our group is, just to see if we're... Actually, I don't think anybody can be in there now that I think about it, because...
No, it's closed out.
Well,
everybody was thrown off.
Yeah, because I would have to let them in to be sitting here in the first place, so they're definitely not in that meet. Well, maybe they just got tired of talking to us.
They got lost.
That's it. They got lost. It was my fault. I should have reminded them.
Well, Bill got lost, and I thought that he was at the computer, but I discovered where he got lost to, and he's snoring right now. He's having a morning nap.
Oh, dear.
It'd be a midday for him, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is a good point at which we could bring this meeting to the end. I've got another topic here, but it can easily, well, maybe it can. Yeah, I can wait till next week because there's nothing we can do about it. It's happened. Yep. Yeah, it can wait till next week. But maybe we want to end with some recommendations. So here comes Judy. Hello, Judy.
I could rattle off the pictures I saw.
You found it. Oh, she's muted.
We can't hear you, Judy.
Sorry, I said my DirecTV is hooked up now, and all that stuff. He still couldn't get my printer hooked up. I couldn't either. So
your
I
printer.
got a new printer.
Okay.
So I'll install my new printer later.
All right. Well, you'll let me know if you have any problems installing.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. This one is my old Canon, and it was connected fine to X Pro, but when I switched to fiber, it will not connect.
It won't connect to that other modem.
Nope. So I totally took out WAN, totally unhooked the little modem, the TP-Link thing, and it still won't connect.
Yeah, it's probably, you probably need to get it connected wirelessly to the new router. If you were going to continue to do that activity of swapping between two different internet connections, and you wanted the printer to be regularly ready, I would almost recommend plugging it in with a cable to your computer. That way it's local to your computer, not to your network.
Yeah, but that doesn't work, because that's why I want this new one, is because it's a air printer. So
we have the same. We have our air printer, and it is on our one internet 2.4. But then we have the 6 is what we usually use. But as soon as I want to print, I have to put it on the same network as what I have to put my device if I'm on my phone. And my HP Microsoft will not hook up to the printer. It doesn't matter.
And Cheryl, you're talking about different frequency ranges, but if they're in the same network, then they should be able to talk to each other.
They don't seem to.
Yeah, I think you might be referring to two separate Wi-Fi networks that have different numbers. They don't actually share traffic. Whereas, and that's not frequency related. That's network related. Like I have 2.5, 2.4 gigahertz networks here, as well as 5 gigahertz networks, because they're devices that support both, but they're both in the same Wi-Fi network. So I'm able to access the printers and the phones and all at the same level, even though some are connected by 5 and some are connected by 2.4.
Well, it seems like they don't talk to each other in this house.
Well,
and we've got that Deco mesh system.
Yeah, and that's actually, that should be offering all of it. It should be offering 2.4 and 5, and you shouldn't even be aware of it. It sounds more like you're talking about the difference between a main network and a guest network.
Oh, I don't know how it's set up.
Yeah.
And he's sleeping. But anyways, I know
Yeah.
that I have to change my network on my phone and my iPad, and whatever I'm on that I want to print from, I have to put onto the 2.4.
That's wild. Yeah, I wouldn't expect that to be the case.
See, that's kind of how mine was, but then that's how mine is in Colorado. But down here, once I got fiber optics and I wanted to switch over I wanted my printer to switch over to fiber optics, it never would connect to the fiber optic network.
Yeah, and that's a different problem.
Yes.
Yeah, and in that case, Judy, if that was like say it was a work environment where you're constantly swapping networks, but you needed 100% access to the printer, that's where I would recommend just running a USB cable to the printer. Right? Because that's the best way to assure that that would work for you. Because the printer can't be on two different Wi-Fi networks at the same time.
Well, no, you can switch it.
Well, yeah, but switching a printer, that's a pain in the butt. You're finding it out for yourself. Switching a device, like an Internet of Things device, from one network to another network is a process in itself. It's something that people hire me to do because it turns into a pain in the ass.
So my fix for this is I brought down a new printer. Because this was one of those $50 from Walmart printers.
Sure.
That now the ink cartridges for them are $50. So
right.
If you can find them. So I just brought down a new printer. So one of these days I'll get busy and install it. And then I may need your help.
Sure. Actually, I hope not, because the new printers have been so much easier to hook up.
Well, I switched from a Canon to an HP because I got so annoyed with the Canon hookup process. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Hopefully, we're almost there.
What's amazing, I find, I'm still amazed by it, is when I'm setting up this printer with my phone quicker than the computer. It just blows me away because it's just the reverse of how we started.
And see, that's what happened last time when I had Mexico City Canon support on the phone. They used my phone to set it up.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, cool. Why don't we start wrapping this up? I would take some recommendations if anybody's got them. I know Paul has got a list of 32 movies I'm hoping he's going to send me so I can link to it in our club. But Paul, you did that in 10 days. So I still argue you didn't go out and eat often enough.
Well, I didn't overeat because of it. I had to run back to my room.
That's right.
So the way we do it, see, it's my wife Peggy and her sister and myself, and I get an inside room and they get a balcony room together. And so if the switches are off, it's a pitch black room. So the TV's got to be on.
To illuminate your atmosphere. That's awesome.
Occasionally I'd leave my room and go look out their balcony and see what was happening and go back into my room.
Well, does a movie shout out at you that we should all see? Something you remember from your trip?
Well, the last one I saw was A Quiet Place. That was pretty interesting. And some that I slept through was Da Vinci Code. Red Joan was interesting. It was about a woman in England that was a spy during the Second World War and didn't really think of it as being a spy. He was just trying to help bring peace. Anyway, but
what was the name of that, Paul?
That was Red Joan.
Red Jones?
It was Joan. Joan.
Joan.
Joan.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of that.
Movie. It was very good.
Is it recent? Spy movie.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
more recent than the Da Vinci Code.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard of it. The Da Vinci
The other
Code I've
one-
heard of.
the other one
It's also
funny.
a good one to fall asleep in. I agree.
No, it's good.
Scandalous was good. Scandalous was about the history of the what's that newspaper you get at the checkout stand in the
National Enquirer.
Actually, it's the history of National Enquirer and how they changed direction and but anyway, that was a good one.
Is that a movie or a series?
It was a movie. It was
Okay.
a movie. Once Upon a Deadpool is good.
Yeah, I love that one. That's the Deadpool Christmas special. That's PG-13.
Yeah. Kingsman's Secret Service was good. A movie called Pig was interesting. It was about a guy up in Oregon that was a truffle harvester, and he had a pet pig,
You know,
and somebody stole his truffle
pig. You know, that's a perfect example of Nicolas Cage just being an amazing actor. I absolutely lost track of who he was. He was that dude. It was an awesome movie. I really enjoyed that, and I just watched the what is the Nick Cage movie that's about himself? It's this postmodern depiction of him, and it's got the Mandalorian in it. But it was a great contrast between Nicolas Cage playing himself. God, I'm gonna remember in a moment. It's some ridiculously long title of greatness, something of greatness. The immense something of greatness. The immense talent of some kind of, what the hell is it?
I didn't see that.
Well, I recommend it because he is Nick Cage all over the movie, and it's just awesome. It's really well done, and he is playing himself. A characterage of himself is what he's playing.
A good one with King Richard. That was about the black family of tennis players.
All right, this is the movie I'm trying to describe. I'm sorry. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Oh,
Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
This is. Oh, and I can never remember the title of it, but it's a great Nicolas Cage movie where he plays Nicolas Cage. And the premise is that he needs to take a job. That's the reason he works so often, is he always needs to take a job. And he takes the job to do somebody's birthday party, and that somebody is like a drug lord in Spain. And so he gets himself into a situation.
Yeah.
And so I had just watched that before I watched Pig, and the spectrum of characters that he play is just amazing. I recommend it in that order.
And King Richard was good. It was about the tennis playing sisters, Williams sisters.
Oh, okay. King Richard, that's not a recent movie, is it?
Oh, that's 5 years old, so. Birdman, I slept through with it. I didn't like it. Ad Astra was good. Anyway, yeah, I will send this list to you.
Thank you, Paul. I will post Paul's Cruise List Volume 2 on our website with links so you guys can get access to Paul's cruise ship list. Is there any other recommendations that are out there? Jim, Cheryl, do you guys got anything you watched, read?
Well, if you guys have seen Elvis, I think we'd mentioned Elvis before, but Linda and I finally saw it.
Oh.
And it was, for me, surprisingly good. I didn't expect it to be anywhere close to the quality it was. And the kid who plays the role of Elvis Presley, I'd never heard of before, but it was certainly an Academy Award level performance.
Yeah,
Well
we've
worth.
been hearing good things about that movie. I think my folks saw it as well.
Oh yeah, it was great. I wanted to mention that we watched Blonde the other day.
Blonde.
Marilyn Monroe.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
it was
Marilyn
about
Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe, and it was pretty fascinating. She just had a miserable life, and they did a good job of explaining why. And it gives you a whole new perspective on
Yeah, I've wanted to see
like
that.
be a superstar. Very well done, and the lady that played the lead, Anna whatever, was just absolutely amazing. I forgot that it wasn't Marilyn herself. But it has an NC-17 rating on Netflix, so it's gets a little raw at times. But we really liked the movie. We also just finished Dahmer, or
Oh,
Oh yeah, I put that on my list as well. Man, that's a disturbing show to watch.
very disturbing. Your mother doesn't like horror, and I was surprised she was interested in watching it because there've been points at which I'd be happy to say, okay, let's stop watching now. But
Yeah.
she's hung in there, so we've just kept going. And wow, what a story!
Yeah, I didn't realize, they've talked about Dahmer for years. I didn't realize that he was active all the way up into the 90s. I didn't realize that was going on while I was in college.
Well, he was born in the 60s. I mean,
Yeah.
he born in 1960, actually. So, yeah, it's all relatively current.
Yeah, I had always just assumed his activities were back in the 70s. I didn't realize it spanned all the way up. He wasn't until the 90s he got caught.
Scott, I wanted to share an experience we had just recently for those of you that fly. I don't know how many of you do, but we went in to get a TSA pre-check and jumped through the hoops to do that. And it was when we were filling out the form to get our appointments, it was asking, we were told it was $85 to get that 5-year TSA pre-check. And then they popped up with a $149 charge along with that, and it made it look like it was for anybody new to TSA. So it almost made sense at the time. But anyway, we paid that in advance, $85 plus the $149, and we show up at TSA for our interview. I mean, we were able to get our interview scheduled, do everything through the paperwork, but we walk in there and they say, "No, you didn't pay for it. You've been scammed." And we were just because they figured out how to get into that actual form they were using at TSA for us to schedule appointments and so forth. And they put this charge in there, and they had the money, of course, sent to them.
Oh my gosh.
So yesterday I was on the phone with Bank of America, a Bank of America credit card. And it was pretty challenging because we just, it seems like every time I turn around, they want to cancel our card for one reason or another. We have a dozen different vendors on it, so it drives me crazy. So right away, the lady said, "Okay, well, we'll cancel it, cancel your card." And I said, "Please, no. I mean, I know exactly what happened here. You don't need to cancel my card." And I was pleased to find out there was a way to have them just go in and take out those charges, and we didn't have to cancel our card. So that was reassuring.
Yeah, I'm really surprised because I would think that means they have access to your credit card information if they were able to get that redirected, those funds redirected.
Right.
Wild.
Anyway, it was quite a surprise to us, and but they were very familiar with it. They said everybody that had been coming in got scammed like that. Now it may have just been happening here in Alaska. I don't know, but they were, we were sending information to national numbers to get organized. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that if you guys happen to decide you want to do a TSA pre-check, it says come in with your money, and that's the way we should have done it, was not even try to pay for it in advance. So
well, there's the tip right there. There's the recommendation for this week. Don't prepay for TSA.
yes,
It might be a scam. Get the appointment. Don't prepay for it.
TSA would have been one of the last places I would have expected a security problem.
Well, that's the reason it's effective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those, you don't actually get compromised by the junk mail. You get compromised for the email from your best friend, because why would they be infected?
Right.
Hey, you also, were mentioning when we did the changeover meeting that you got some of these air tags, and we're
Yes.
curious about how to use them. I've got one here in my hand. First of all, I don't know if you can use them with Android devices, so this is a discussion for people with iPhones and iPads. But when you get them out of the package, they're wrapped in a plastic, and make sure that your phone is handy right next to you. And when you pull the plastic off, it's going to relieve a plastic tab and make a battery make contact to the device. So you're going to pull a plastic tab, the battery's going to activate the device, and your phone is going to pick up that a brand new device to be activated is within range. It's just going to appear on your screen.
Ah, okay.
And then you click on that and start following the instructions. It'll ask you to make some kind of determination of what you're going to use it for, whether it's keys or luggage or other. They have a whole list of things that you might associate it with. It's just for your own categorization. It'll also give you the chance to name it. I think it takes a default name as Scott's luggage if you chose luggage, or Scott's briefcase if you chose briefcase, Scott's keys if you chose keys. Otherwise, you can change the name for what the device is. And it will be just a series like an interview, next, and you'll end with it showing you the device in your MyFine application. So you'll end this process looking at a map that shows the dot of the device you set up. And that's all there is to it. After that, you take the device, you stick it in whatever you're going to track.
So it sounds like it's possible to change it then. If we use it for luggage going down, we could use it for something else once we got there, huh?
Yeah, what I've done is I stuck it in 4 different pieces of luggage, and I purposely named the luggage. Here's another thing I did, another travel tip. I didn't have any problems with luggage, but people have had bad experiences. I took a picture of every piece of luggage that we were traveling with so that I could easily identify it. And when I named my tags, I named them something unique so I'd know what bag I was talking about, but I also prefixed it in parens the manufacturer of my luggage, so that I could look at the tag and I could say, oh, that's the big black bag, that's a Dunlap bag. So that if I'm trying to report it, I've got all that information in the same place.
That's a great idea. Yeah, very good, Scott.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah.
A side use for it when you're not traveling, could you put it on the TV remote and find it?
Hey, apparently you can. You need, I don't know, some double-sided tape you could stick on there. But if you've got, I think your phones support it. I think so. If not, there's a model, and I don't know when it switches over, but there's an iPhone model that switches over. The Find My app will actually dial right in within feet to the tag, so you can trace the tag all the way to its location. I don't know. I don't remember which model it is, but there was a model changeover where it went from this like at this address to over there on the couch. and it was dependent on the iPhone.
Well, that sounds just real handy. We are always losing those remotes
That may be
in
the
our bed.
that's the killer app that'll make you upgrade your iPhone, is being able to use it to find your remote. Well, at the very least, you could put a tag on the remote, and you can use the Find My app to send it chirping, and you could follow the chirping to it.
That would be handy.
Yeah, because it'll send out a chirp. Now, these use that standard computer CR battery. I think it's a CR2525 or a CR2032. It's one of those kinds of batteries. And I don't expect it to last more than a year before that battery will need to be changed. So just to keep that in mind. What I really appreciate about it, though, is that it is iPhone. I've got some older tags here. Gosh, I think these were called trackers. That there just isn't enough uptick with these competing tags. There's just not enough people out there using them to make the network solid enough to rely on them. So you spend more time replacing batteries than you do actually using them to track things down. In fact, I think these are discontinued. But since these are by Apple, I suspect that you'll be changing batteries and continuing to use these in perpetuity, because they will stay on that Find My network as long as you continue to replace the batteries. They continue to work.
With your remotes, you can tape a 3-foot length of ribbon or something like that to your remote. And so even if it goes between the cushions of your couch, that ribbon will stay out.
What you need is like a water skier's pole that you stick in the middle of your room, and then a retractable cord that goes to your remote. That way you're always, you got to lean back with the right surface tension, but you can choose your programming and then release, and it goes to the center of the room, and you always know where to find it. Well, that being said, maybe it's time to bring our meeting to an end, since there's just the 5 of us at the moment. Is there any other recommendations that people would like to shout out? Anything else you'd like to shout out before we call this to an end? We're almost, we're at an hour and 42 minutes at this point.
Well, I'll just update you on our travels. We will be in Alberta next Tuesday, but we will be in a doctor's office during the meeting, so we will not be online. The following Tuesday, we will be in Jackpot, Nevada, and we'll try and hook in, but we'll be on Pacific time, so we'll be in the same time zone as San Carlos. And I think we're going to stay in the same time zone from then on.
All right. And so 10 o'clock
we'll,
still works for you?
Yep. We'll be in, it's 11 o'clock here, but we'll be in San Carlos December 11th. So we'll be there for the 13th or whatever it is that week.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to having you back in town.
Okay.
Well, until next Tuesday, let me say tech on. And if you have any computer issues out there, you can make them my issues. Just get a hold of me. I'm Scott at internationalcs.net. You can email me or you can call me anywhere you're located on the internet. I'll reach out and try and help you remotely. Paul, I look forward to seeing your list.
Scott, we'd like to talk to you for a minute before you leave.
Oh, great. Why don't I give you a call back after I've shut all this down?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I have to show you something really fast, though.
Okay.
Hang on. Can you see all this?
Woo! I don't know what it represents, but there's a lot of it.
Well, I'm not done yet. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, here's more. What do you think? Is there a bit of stuff here?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
It all came out of the old dining room yesterday.
Well, then you've done an amazing job of packing stuff in that little room. Because look, you've successfully taken over 2 rooms with all the stuff that was in one.
It's amazing. I was pretty tired at the end of the day. Had to haul all that out. Now where am I going to put it?
Let me shut this off, and I'll get back to you, Mom. Oh, there they go. There they go. Okay, and like I was saying right there at the end, this is Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions. If you like what we've done here, please check us out. Check out our website. We're a club that meets every Tuesday at 10 at sccclub.org. We keep links to the stories we talk about and the videos that we produce. And maybe we'll get back into the podcast game sometime soon. Until next Tuesday, all of you out there, tech on.